Let's go straight to our Mumbai Bureau Chief Smita Nair-Raskina, and joining her is Raksha Shetty, our correspondent in the city. Smita, to you first. Mumbai's shame clearly exposed on camera. As serious as the role of these policemen is, they're just one link in that long chain that facilitates illegal construction. The question now is, will the government act against the bigger culprits?
It's $1 million one. Palki, I must tell you, we weren't able to play out the entire footage available from that sting operation, which is about 48 minutes long to our viewers. I've gone through it, and the one thing that comes through from each of those policemen who accepted the bribe and demanded even from the person, Qasim Khan, who was carrying out the sting operation, was the impunity with which in broad daylight, in the presence of so many people in that neighborhood, they were demanding and accepting wads of cash to look the other way when illegal construction was underway, which is indicative of the fact that there were people higher up in the police stations that they reported to, maybe in the zone that they reported to, that were well aware. In fact, these policemen, it is indicative of the fact, were simply possibly the foot soldiers of those higher up, collecting the money, or the hafta as it's called here in Mumbai, for the police station, the local police station certainly, to turn away from the illegal construction that was underway. As for the involvement of politicians, well, Mumbai is known for its builder, politician, policeman nexus, and the fact that not just here in the sting operation, but in the reports that we have played out over the last week from Thane, Mumra and Kalwa as well, the one fact that comes out is the fact that either the builders are politicians themselves or are fund politicians for their elections, be it local councillors or even MLAs. In fact, the MLA from Mumra, who belongs to the NCP, is also a very popular face, so to speak, of the party. The spokesperson, Jitendra Avhad, is someone who's in the eye of the storm currently. Our sister network, IBN Lokmat, had accessed a letter that was written by the Forest Department to the Chief Secretary Forest, complaining how this man was in fact shielding illegal constructions in that area. He, along with, quote, his goons, were threatening the administration officials when they went to demolish illegal structures in Thane. Listen in.
74 dead, 28 of them children in Maharashtra's worst building collapse disaster. A week after the Mumra tragedy, police has made 13 arrests and has blamed the nexus between politicians, builders and civic officials. And now, in what could nail the political patronage enjoyed by such builders, Network 18 has accessed this letter written by the State Forest Department. In June 2011, officials of the Forest Department had complained to the Chief Secretary of Maharashtra regarding local NCP MLA Jitendra Avhad. They stated that their officials were forcibly stopped and threatened by Jitendra Avhad's supporters when they were demolishing illegal encroachments in the same area where the building collapsed. Reacting to this, Avhad says,
those hutments were constructed in the 70s and 80s, and now the people are being thrown out of their houses. If I have done something wrong by not allowing demolition, then I stand by it. What was the government doing when this illegal construction was coming up?
More shockingly, the MLA's men obstructed the demolition despite knowing that the court had ordered it. Not just this, the letter to the Chief Secretary did not lead to any action, and the officials confess that political pressure continues to be a major hurdle.
We face political pressure while handling demolition drives.
Almost 2 years after the complaint, government is still promising action.
Action will be taken against whoever obstructs demolition of illegal structure, no matter which party he or she belongs to.
Infamous for its flourishing illegal building industry, Mumbai is still recovering from last week's horror that wiped off 74 lives. Even the ill-fated Lucky compound was built violating all rules, and prompt action could have averted the disaster. With Uday Zadav in Mumbai, this is Shoaib Ahmed.
Well, acts of omission and commission, and some of those acts of omission, of course, the lack or the failure of the oversight mechanism. I want to bring in my colleague Raksha Shetty here. Raksha, in the course of your investigations, the buildings that you looked at were, quote, legal buildings. They had the permissions in place. Even so, the buildings that you investigated are a clear example of corruption and that very crucial point that we speak about in Mumbai, the lack of an oversight mechanism that may result in many more deaths in the days to come.
That's right, Smita. In fact, we all know what happened in Mumra with that illegal construction using substandard material. What's ironic is that the city's own development authority asked 25 builders to construct some 32 housing colonies made up of around 500 buildings in what was Mumbai's largest slum rehabilitation project. several of those buildings, almost all of them that we visited, all in a state of collapse. When we visited, residents complaining to us about collapsing ceilings, massive leakages, overhead water tanks in a state of near collapse. I have with me one resident from that building. You have your office there, Suleiman Bimani is his name. Can you tell us, you've studied this quite in depth. Yes. What is the modus operandi that these builders go through in terms of the profits that they enjoy making constructions like this of poor quality?
Yeah, actually these are 32 colonies where 3 lakh life have been rehabilitated. It's a rehabilitation. It was an infra project under MMRDA. But the irony is there, they have constructed 32 graveyards. The 3 lakh families are sitting on a time bomb. Anytime this Mumbai can happen. The quality is awful. It is so substandard that you, with your fingers, you can remove the plaster and you can take out the brickwork. Now, this contract was given to petty contractors who had not even had any experience of constructing a builder. They were the first time contractors in many cases, and they were just given for a pittance of 515 rupees per square feet. That was 50% of the construction costs of a standard building with all the specifics as per the rules. Okay. Now, coming to the point, in the agreement there is one clause that they cannot use more than 3 kg of steel, which is again less than 50% of the steel which is being used in a standard building. So, now considering the fact that at that time the TDR, the cost of the FSI was between 2,500 to 3,000 rupees, and with just giving 515 rupees per square feet as a subcontract, they were making more than 2,000 rupees per FSI. Right. And that FSI was used in other buildings, which buildings were being sold for 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. So they were making more than 400-500% profit.
Okay, massive profits there enjoyed by builders. Take a look now at just how these 3 lakhs people are living in homes that are in a state of near collapse.
Crumbling stairwells, collapsing ceilings, severely damaged walls and overhead tanks, and lakhs of frightened residents. This is the state of 500 buildings constructed by a handful of developers from 2005 to 2007 using substandard material at the behest of the MMRDA, the City Development Authority, for 3 lakh people displaced by city infrastructure projects. It was part of Mumbai's biggest rehabilitation scheme ever, but is on its way to being possibly the city's biggest tragedy. CNNIBN visited one colony made up of 30 buildings in Goregaon. Residents here say they are living in fear of their lives, forced to replaster their homes at least once a year. Stories of collapse are common.
गिरने वाला सब लोग आते बोलते खाला देखो गिरेगा 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 मारले मरने का आज भी मरने का कल भी मरने का पूरा सीमेंट बच्चे के ऊपर ही गिरेगा ना और छोटा बच्चा है बोलने वाले है क्या कुछ नहीं है इसके लिए मैं इतना खर्चा करी फिर भी देखो छत्तू पूरा करा देखो पूरा ऐसा.
Take a look at just how these virtual death traps were constructed. Documents with CNNIBN obtained through the Right to Information Act for at least one of these buildings show they were constructed at a paltry 515 rupees per square foot instead of the basic 1200 rupees per square foot. Only 3 kgs of steel per square foot was used instead of the basic requirement of 6 to 7 kgs of steel. Important cube testing reports required to test the strength of the concrete are unavailable because the tests were never conducted. Just like the Mumbra building, these 7 slabs were constructed at top speed within a 3-month period, the entire building being completed within a year. Most buildings were subcontracted out to petty contractors who had no prior experience in construction.
Residents say nails go through these walls just as easily as knives through butter. In fact, cracks and leakages began appearing all throughout the building as soon as construction ended in 2007, and major repair works had to be carried out just a year after residents moved in.
In this letter, the Mumbai municipality itself informs the MMRDA the builder has not completed 20 crore rupees of work for one colony. The MMRDA had appointed 25 builders to construct 32 of these housing colonies across Mumbai in return for floor space index, which they used to construct swanky structures like this one. just next door to the rundown rehabilitation projects.
I don't mind developer making a profit. Every entrepreneur, every businessman wants to make a profit, but not at the cost of the common people's life.
The MMRDA itself has accepted much of what is lacking in the construction of these buildings and foots the bills of repeated repairs. But residents are asking how many Mumbras and how many more deaths will it take before the administration acts on their complaints. In Mumbai, Raksha Shetty.
Smita and Raksha, thanks very much for getting us that. This is a story you'll be tracking very, very closely, just who is letting these illegal structures flourish, and will action be taken?